Hello everybody. I have another flip through. This is from my abstract journal sketchbook that I was working on like for the past 2 months or so. It was like a really good practice. They got me more confident in different shapes and just playing and having fun and just making art for the purpose of making art. It started off as just a regular sketchbook. Here I did a fun little portrait. I was trying to play with different mediums. This was from an illustration class that I was taking, just getting comfortable with illustrating from photographs, and I have a couple illustrations. I was trying to figure out how to use the Copic markers. This is a gouache painting I did of a rabbit statue that I have, and a nice little painting of Totoro. This was a watercolor painting of a view in my living room, or at least how my living room was, and I ended up doing a little bit of collage here, but I never returned to this page. And some fun little spring fairies, a unicorn that I drew, and some more. I tried to come back to the beginning pages of this to collage and turn them more abstract so that everything would match. I wanted it to have the whole thing to have an overarching theme, and I just never got to a point where I felt like I could do that. And it, at a certain point, a journal just needs to be done, in my opinion. This is a portrait I did of my dog, Callie. She is a black standard poodle, playing around with Caran d'Ache Neocolor pastels. Another page just playing around with those. Watercoloring some buildings down the alleyway from us. This is from the Ideation portal from Marley Grace's Substack, their website. They offer the Creative Ideation portal, which is a 3-day mini class that helps you. And their new podcast, Common Shapes, actually also goes through this process. So I had done an abstract painting with gouache, and then I went over it to make this list. Yeah, so this is a painting I did. Started with a, I don't know, it was kind of inspiration from a crystal that I have. And then I just kind of added in, with the other stuff, I added in collage elsewhere. You're gonna see that I'm gonna start skipping pages. And some pages have a scribbled on page taped in, and that's just my kids at that time were really into keeping their own notebooks and drawing. They're 4 and 3, so it's not something that happens all the time, but they had all of these pictures they were drawing and they were giving them to me, and since I wasn't using certain pages of my sketchbook, I taped some of them in to memorialize them, just to have some of those fun drawings from that little piece of time. This is the Curious Cloudwalker spread. It helped feed some of the inspiration for my first short story. I started posting a serialized short story on my Substack, and I really want to get back to it. I got stuck on one specific thing, and then I haven't been able to sit down at my tablet and actually get it typed out. So here's a couple of Oscar's drawings. Here's a dance spread. This is a lot of Copic markers with colored pencils overlaying, and then lots of little pieces glued in. Okay, yeah, so part of what he did is he kept saying he wanted to draw towns, so he would just draw little shapes that built off of each other, and it ended up being really fun, and he returns to it every once in a while. But right now, with everything we have going on right now, he has been more interested in his tablet lately. So this is a fun, I think the background here is actually inspired by my bathroom. My bathroom is not overly fabulous. It's, you know, kind of basic, but, you know, I was trying to work on finding inspiration everywhere and just letting things come through the way that they were meant to and finding the shapes that they come through. This is a day where I was really inspired by unicorns and the magic that they, can bring into our lives. I think I was also driving a lot at this point because it shows me in the car. And I don't remember like a lot of some of this, like where this came from. I don't remember all of it because what I would do is build on it. I would start a blank, like 3 or 4 blank pages at a time. And then I would like build a layer and then kind of like stagger and build a layer. And like this, I wrote out the definition to tether. This says, I feel like a paper doll. And it's when I started painting some of my watercolor girls. And as I go on, I start to get more experimental and open up like the boundaries of what I'm allow myself to use in these pages. This has to do with animism. Yeah, this started off just as a doodle page and I used some markers that I didn't always use. And after I was done taping things over, there was only a couple doodles left. But I thought it was interesting. Like I had just gotten my new backpack and so that is there. Okay, so here you can see I tore out like a security envelope and that's there. Traveler's notebook doodle. This is from a magazine page. So expanding, anytime I find that I'm kind of hitting a wall, when I start expanding too much, I kind of dial it back and I limit the supplies that I'm able to use or the space that I'm able to use. And then I can like move back into what's comfortable and start adding things back slowly, if that feels right. So this is like one of the pages that, this spread is actually like my favorite out of everything I did. And it's the one that has like, technically has the most errors. Like this, I watercolored a watercolor set and then I closed the page too quickly and it hadn't been dried yet. So it's all smudged. I've got observe here, the definition. Some words about main character energy, some sigil work down here, a little hobbit door. This says, I am constantly in progress. I think the abstract and the patchwork, I got a lot of inspiration from Quiet Noticing on Instagram. I had just, I had purchased some of their zines that they had put out, a second zine and then the first zine that they had reprinted. And they're like free art style that really made me want to explore things more further in like in a way that was only nourishing to me and that wasn't meant to be like used for anything or have anything done with it, you know. Oh, I had mushrooms growing in my front yard, so I had the name of the mushrooms here, and I was practicing a lot of meditation and mindful breathing. I do a lot of that anyways, but I think I was reading a lot of Zen books at this time. Circles. I had avoided circles for a while in my work, and then I started kind of like reintroducing circles. And there are some pages now where I look and I think that I can add some things back in. Other pages where I'm not super happy with how things turned out. I'm not crazy about like this side of it, but I like this side. You know, it's all a matter of opinion. And again, this was just for me. And this says, wherever you're at is where you are. I had gotten a big D-stash bag of pens from Megan and the Moon, so I had tested some of those out, and some of them are in these pages now. This shows sorry for existing, but I crossed it out and says no, I'm not. A rabbit. The rabbit started coming back into our yard and kind of showing up. Our town just has so many rabbits. This is actually one of my son's town drawings that had gotten, like, I don't know, like ripped up. I kind of tore a piece off of it because he was going to throw it away, and I wanted to keep it because I really liked how it had turned out. I found that incorporating their work into my work is actually really fun. There's another piece of it. This is just, I cut up some watercolor that I had tested different, or I guess swatched different pens and stuff on it. This is To Be Heard. This is just a random sticker. Let's see, Grid Space. It's fun because there's always like one or two things that immediately grab your attention and like draw your eye in. And I liked the way that I went about it, like building on each page, like over a period of time, and doing pages, like groups of pages together, because certain pages you can see how they are connected, and then you can also see like the juxtaposition of like different ideas or things that I was going through, or maybe I can only see that, but just I see a lot of the differences and things that I was exploring at that time. And this has Akashic Records written over here. I was doing some Akashic Records meditations at that time. This says All Things Speak of God. I don't remember where that came from. Oh, my little mushroom coffee cup. Definitely not like an exact replica. This under here says Power of Myth. I watched The Power of Myth for the first time making some of these pages, which I think is very obvious in that it like informed some of them. And I started cutting up more pieces of paper and like things I weren't using. Like this was a tarot drawing that I had done for my Patreon, and I didn't really have any use for it afterwards, so I cut it up because I liked the colors and the way that it had all turned out. And you can see then I start to kind of like peter out a little bit. Slowly starting to like lose interest. During this time of keeping the sketchbook, I had a lot of breakthroughs when it came to my paintings. And yeah, I kept trying to, after I took a little step away from these pages, I tried to come back and like quote unquote finish the sketchbook, and I just decided that I needed to be done. I do like how I went about these pages. I don't know if I'll ever do it again in the same exact way, but I think that this was like a really good example of like a sketchbook of experimentation and exploration as an artist and as a person, and just really a convergence of ideas that I'm experiencing over the period of one time. So I'm going to make sure I label this with a date of like the period, or at least the year and season that I did this, and it's gonna go on my shelf with all my other journals. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. Bye.